On December 4, 1872, the Atlantic Ocean revealed one of the greatest mysteries in maritime history. A small brigantine vessel, the Mary Celeste, was found adrift near the Azores Islands. Her sails were tattered but usable, her cargo almost entirely intact, and her hull perfectly seaworthy. Inside, clothing, pipes, and food supplies were still in place, yet the ship was eerily silent. Her captain, his wife, and young daughter, and all 7 crew members had vanished without a trace. No bodies were ever recovered. No distress signal was ever found. The only clues: the ship's lifeboat was missing, and with it, the human story that might have solved the puzzle. For more than 150 years, the Mary Celeste has remained the most famous ghost ship in history. But what really happened on that lonely voyage across the Atlantic? To understand, we must begin long before that December day. Origins of the Mary Celeste. The vessel that would become the Mary Celeste was built in 1861 at Spencer's Island, Nova Scotia, by shipbuilder Joshua Du. She was originally christened the Amazon, constructed from strong local timber. She was 103 feet long and weighed just over 280 tons. Designed as a brigantine, she carried square sails on her foremast and triangular sails on her main, giving her both speed and maneuverability, essential traits for crossing the Atlantic. But the Amazon quickly earned a reputation for misfortune. On her maiden voyage, her first captain fell ill and died. Over the next few years, she collided with fishing boats, endured storms, and even ran aground near Cape Breton Island, requiring major repairs. Sailors whispered that she was cursed, a bad omen for any who sailed her. By 1869, after years of bad luck, she was sold at auction to American owners, refitted, lengthened, and renamed the Mary Celeste. For a time, her troubles seemed behind her. She became part of New York's busy shipping trade, carrying goods across the Atlantic. But destiny had other plans. The captain and his family, the man chosen to command the Mary Celeste on her fateful 1872 voyage, was Captain Benjamin Spooner Briggs. Born in Massachusetts in 1835, Briggs came from a long line of sailors. His father was a respected sea captain, and Benjamin himself had sailed since youth. At just 37, he was experienced, meticulous, and well-liked by fellow men. Briggs was not reckless. In fact, he was deeply religious. A devout Christian who often prayed before voyage. Friends described him as disciplined but gentle, the kind of man who inspired trust rather than fear. He was also a family man. He had married Sarah Cobb, the daughter of a minister, and together they had 2 children, Arthur, age 7, and Sophia, age 2. For the Mary Celeste voyage, Briggs decided to bring Sarah and little Sophia along, leaving Arthur at home with his grandmother to continue school. This decision would prove fateful. The crew Briggs handpicked his crew of 7. Among them were First Mate Albert Richardson, a capable and steady seaman. Second Mate Andrew Gilling, born in Denmark, but an American citizen. Steward Edward Head, responsible for provisions and the captain's comfort. 4 seamen Volkart, Lorenzen, Arian Martins, Gottlieb Goodskade, and Bosun Gottlieb Gilling. All were described as competent, hard-working men with no history of trouble. Briggs avoided hiring drifters or drinkers. This was a crew meant for trust. The cargo in the voyage on November 7, 1872. The Mary Celeste departed New York harbor bound for Genoa, Italy. Air cargo was 1,701 barrels of industrial alcohol-denatured spirit meant for fortifying Italian wines. Though valuable, it was volatile, prone to leaking and producing dangerous fumes. The ship carried enough food and water to last 6 months. The weather was mild, and the voyage began smoothly. The last known log entry, written on November 25th, placed her near the Azores Islands, about halfway to her destination. Nothing unusual was noted. Then, silence. The discovery on December 4th, 1872, the British Brig de Gratia, commanded by Captain David Morehouse, spotted a vessel behaving oddly in the waves. The ship appeared under partial sail, mubbing slowly, and did not respond to signals. Morehouse, who coincidentally knew Briggs personally, sent a boarding party led by First Mate Oliver DeVoe. What they found stunned them. The Mary Celeste was completely deserted. The sails were damaged, but repairable. The rigging was frayed, but the ship was seaworthy. In the hold, The cargo of alcohol was intact, except for 9 barrels that had leaked. The crew's possessions remained in their cabins. Pipes, boots, and clothing were untouched. Provisions, flour, meat, what I could, had lasted 4 months. The galley was tidy, with no food cooking, but nothing out of place. Only the lifeboat, sextant, and chronometer were missing. There were no signs of struggle, no blood, no storm damage. It looked as though the people had simply walked off the ship. The Gibraltar inquiry, the Mary Celeste, was sailed to Gibraltar, where a British Vice-Admiralty court opened an inquiry. Attorney General Frederick Solifled suspected foul play. He accused Captain Morehouse and his crew of the De Gracia of concocting a murder plot to seize the ship as salvage. But the evidence didn't support this. The cargo was untouched, and there was no sign of violence. Testimony confirmed that Briggs was a trusted man, not the kind of fake disaster. After weeks of investigation, the court reluctantly released the ship. The salvage crew was awarded payment, but far less than usual, suggesting lingering suspicion. The mystery deepened. Theories of the Mary Celeste. For 150 years, scholars, sailors, and storytellers have debated what happened. Here are the leading theories. 1. Piracy. Some suggest pirates boarded the ship, yet nothing was stolen at the cargo. Not personal items, not even navigational tools. Beyond what was essential, pirates rarely leave so much untouched. 2. A mutiny. Could the crew have turned on Briggs? Unlikely. Briggs was respected, and there were no signs of violence. Moreover, abandoning a perfectly good ship with valuable cargo makes little sense. 3. Natural disaster, a rogue wave or waterspout might have terrified the crew, but the Mary Celeste bore no serious damage. The log made no mention of storms. 4. Alcohol fumes explosion. This remains the most popular theory. The cargo of alcohol was unstable. Leaking fumes could have caused a small explosion, loud but not destructive. Fear in Fire Briggs may have ordered everyone into the lifeboat temporarily. If the lifeboat drifted or the rope broke, they could have been lost forever. Modern experiments have shown that alcohol vapor explosions can create frightening blasts without leaving scorch marks. This fits the evidence. 5. Lifeboat accident. Perhaps the crew left the ship briefly for repairs, or to check leaks while tethered in the lifeboat. A sudden wind could have snapped the rope, stranding them. The Mary Celeste. Le fond monde, simple seldon. 6. Insurance fraud. Some accuse the owners of faking disaster for money. But the cargo is not insured unusually high, and Briggs was wealthy, with no reason to risk his family. 7. Paranormal or alien theories over the years. Wild tales of sea monsters, aliens, or Bermuda Triangle-like phenomena have circulated. These make for good stories, but lack evidence. Life aboard the Mary Celeste. To understand the tragedy, it helps to picture daily life on such a voyage. A brigantine, like the Mary Celeste, was cramped and noisy. Sailors lived in close quarters, with little privacy. Meals were plain hardtack, salted meat, beans. Watches rotated, day and night, as someone always had to steer and adjust sails. Carrying alcohol added danger. The fumes could cause headaches, nausea, and fear of explosion. A cautious captain like Briggs would not take risks with his wife and child aboard. If he suspected danger, abandoning ship temporarily might have seemed wise. Legacy of the Mary Celeste after Gibraltar. The Mary Celeste continued sailing for another decade, but she never escaped her reputation. Crews called her unlucky, cursed, haunted. In 1885, her final captain deliberately ran her aground in Haiti in a failed insurance scam. She was left to rot, ending her career as mysteriously as it began. Yet her legend had only just begun. Writers and journalists sensationalized her tale. In 1884, Arthur Conan Doyle, later famous for Sherlock Holmes, published a story inspired by the Mary Celeste, filled with fictional horrors. Newspapers falsely reported that hot meals were still on the table and sewing projects left unfinished. These myths stuck, turning a maritime puzzle into a ghost story. Today, the Mary Celeste is immortalized in books, films, and documentaries. She remains the archetypal ghost ship, a reminder of the sea's mysteries. Modern analysis. Most modern historians agree the alcohol fume theory is the most plausible. Experiments in the 2000s proved that alcohol vapors can cause a terrifying but harmless blast. To a cautious captain, the risk of fire may have seemed too great. The crew likely left in the lifeboat, tethered to the ship. Then, through accident, weather, rope failure, or strong currents, they became separated. Alone in a small boat, far from land, their chances of survival were almost zero. Conclusion: the Mary Celeste did not sink. She was found intact, sails raised, cargo safe. What sank were the lives of those aboard: Captain Briggs, his wife Sarah, their daughter Sophia, and 7 loyal crewmen. The most likely truth is simple, yet tragic. Fearing an explosion, they abandoned ship temporarily. The lifeboat was lost, and with it, every soul aboard. But because the sea kept their bodies, the Mary Celeste remains a mystery. For 150 years, she has drifted in human imagination, a symbol of how the ocean hides its secrets. Even today, her story reminds us that the sea is vast, merciless, and sometimes unwilling to tell the truth.